I still remember the day Solomon announced we'd be traveling to the village to spend Christmas with Grandma. It was supposed to be the happiest news for the family. Solomon was my husband, a man who loved traditions and family. This Christmas, we will celebrate with Mama in the village, he said, his voice full of excitement. My 3 children, David, Mercy, and little Tund, jumped up and down with joy. They hadn't seen Grandma in years, and the thought of spending the holidays surrounded by cousins, uncles, and the warmth of the village seemed like a dream come true. Solomon and I worked hard to make ends meet in the city. He was a civil servant, while I ran a small catering business. Life wasn't always easy, but we managed. Our children, David, 15, Mercy, 10, and Tund, 6, were our pride and joy. They were well-behaved kids who brought laughter into our modest home. We packed our bags with care, taking gifts for Mama and enough provisions to last a week. The drive to the village was long but cheerful, with the children singing carols in the back seat. When we arrived, Mama welcomed us with open arms. She was a petite but strong woman in her 70s, with a kind smile that hid the many struggles she had faced in life. Her house was simple but warm, and the compound was bustling with family members who had come from far and wide. Among the neighbors, there was one woman who stood out, Bimbo. She lived next door to Mama and was always quick to offer a smile or a helping hand. But something about her always made me uneasy. Her eyes, though warm on the surface, seemed to hide something dark. I couldn't shake the feeling, but I dismissed it as overthinking. After all, it was Christmas, a time for joy and unity. The Christmas festivities were in full swing. Mama cooked up a storm, and the compound was filled with the aroma of jollof rice, fried chicken, and roasted goat meat. Children ran around playing, while the adults shared stories and laughter under the shade of the mango tree. It was the kind of celebration that made you forget all your worries. On Christmas morning, Bimbo came over with a plate of food. She said it was a special delicacy she had prepared for our family. Solomon thanked her graciously and took the plate inside. But as soon as she left, he turned to me, his face serious. "We won't eat this," he said firmly. I don't trust her. I nodded in agreement. "Let's keep it in the fridge and warn the kids not to touch it." Solomon called the children and made it clear. No one is to eat the food Bimbo brought. Do you understand? They nodded, though little Tund looked confused. "But why, Daddy?" "Just listen to me, my boy," Solomon said gently, patting his head. "It's for your own good." The day went on without incident, but I noticed Bimbo watching us from her window. Her gaze was piercing, and it sent chills down my spine. That night, as we gathered for family prayers, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The next morning, there was a knock on the door. It was Bimbo. She looked anxious, almost desperate. "Good morning, James," she said, addressing Solomon by his middle name, as was common in the village. "I hope you enjoyed the food I brought." Solomon hesitated but then forced a smile. "Yes, thank you. It was very thoughtful of you." "Are you sure?" she pressed, her eyes narrowing. "Is everyone okay?" "Yes, we are fine," he replied, his voice steady. "Why do you ask?" She fidgeted with her hands, her gaze darting around. "No reason. I was just worried." After she left, Solomon and I exchanged worried glances. What was she up to? Why was she so concerned about the food? Later that day, Solomon decided to check the plate in the fridge. What he found froze him in his tracks. The food had transformed into something horrific. Beneath the layers of rice and stew were human body parts. A hand. Fingers. It was like something out of a nightmare. Solomon cried out, and I rushed to his side. When I saw what he was holding, I screamed. The children ran into the kitchen, their faces pale with fear. "What's happening, Mama?" David asked, his voice trembling. "Go back to your room," I shouted, my heart pounding. Solomon quickly called the police, and within an hour, they arrived at the house. Bimbo was arrested, and as they led her away, she began to confess. Her voice was cold, devoid of remorse. "My children are dead because of you," she spat, her eyes wild with hatred. "Your son is thriving while mine have perished. I wanted you to feel my pain." The words hit us like a thunderbolt. What kind of evil could drive a person to such lengths? As the police took her away, I held my children close, vowing never to let anything harm them. But the nightmare was far from over. Bimbo's actions had opened a door to something darker, something we weren't prepared for. And as the days went on, it became clear that this Christmas would haunt us forever. After Bimbo's arrest, life in the village returned to an uneasy calm, but the scars of our evil deed lingered. Solomon and I did our best to shield the children from the horror, but they were no longer the carefree kids they had been just days before. David, the oldest, started asking questions I wasn't ready to answer. "Mama, why would she want to hurt us?" "We didn't do anything wrong," he whispered one night as I tucked him in. I sighed, holding back tears. "Sometimes, people let anger and jealousy take over their hearts, my son. But we must always choose kindness, no matter what." The day before we were to return to the city, the police officer handling Bimbo's case visited us. He revealed chilling details. Bimbo had lost her 2 children in a tragic accident a year ago. Since then, she had spiraled into madness, blaming anyone whose children were thriving. She confessed that she targeted your family because she believed your son's success overshadowed her pain, the officer explained. But she will face justice for her actions. As we packed our bags to leave the village, Mama sat us down. "My children, never let bitterness take root in your heart. This world is full of trials, but only love can heal us. Let us pray for her soul." Though it was hard, we joined Mama in prayer for Bimbo. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a step toward healing. Back in the city, life slowly returned to normal. The children started school again, and Solomon and I threw ourselves into work. But the experience had changed us all. We became more cautious, more protective of one another. One evening, Solomon gathered us in the living room. "This Christmas taught us something important," he said. "Family is our greatest blessing, and we must cherish it every day." We all nodded in agreement, and for the first time in weeks, a genuine smile spread across my face. The shadows of that dreadful Christmas were fading, replaced by the light of hope and togetherness. And so, we moved forward, stronger than before, holding tight to the lesson that love and trust within a family can overcome even the darkest trials. What lesson did you learn from this story? And I want to know where you are watching from in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, like and share. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe for more interesting stories. Also turn on your notification bell so that you can get notified whenever I upload interesting video like this. See you in my next video.